I lost my credit over 50,000 t-shirts, so I canceled her future. My card blinked insufficient funds at the gas pump like it was roasting me. The pump beeped, the guy behind me sighed, and my soul slid under the car. I opened our banking app. One charge, 50,000, custom. T-shirts from ThreadForge Fulfillment. Mortgage auto pay hits Friday. My business line is tied to this credit. Then my wife texts, "It's a vendor hold, babe. Don't freak." Cool. I love holding 50 grand in cotton I didn't order. I checked the merchant's address. Warehouse district tied to my ex-friend. The human LinkedIn post. My stomach drops. I don't confront. I audit. Set up. Our money rules and cracks. We had rules. Joint account for boring adult stuff. Mortgage, utilities, insurance, groceries. Separate accounts for fun and dumb. Her candles and Pilates socks. My gadgets and unholy coffee equipment. We even had a monthly State of the Union, which sounds romantic until you're spreadsheeting toothpaste. It worked because my credit had been a mess a few years back. Long story short, I tried to bootstrap a business with optimism and coupons, rebuilt from the ashes like a financially traumatized phoenix. She called herself Entrepreneur Adjacent, which is the job title you give yourself when your Canva free trial is doing the heavy lifting. She had ideas, a planner brand with no calendar, a skincare line made of coconut oil and vibes. I smiled, nodded, and gently proposed budgets like a hostage negotiator with a calculator. First crack, mail started going missing. I asked, "Did the electric bill come?" She said, "They do everything online now." Fun fact, they do not, especially when the envelope says service interruption. Second crack, she changed delivery preferences. Suddenly, hold at location became the vibe. Our porch camera was bored. Meanwhile, my socks were being rerouted to a UPS store that sells fax services and sadness. She announced new girls' nights on Thursdays near the warehouse district, where fun goes to charge forklifts. I said, "Where?" She said, "This tapas place with a view of a fence." The girls? Rotating cast with names like Bree, Ray, and you don't know her. I trust people until they start naming restaurants like password reset questions. And here's the irony. She hates t-shirts. "They're lazy clothing," she once declared, wearing a sweatshirt that said Girl Boss in 14 fonts. So why would our joint account be buying enough tees to clothe a small, sweaty country? My goal was simple. Keep the mortgage paid, keep my business line alive, and not have my credit yeeted into a crater by a cotton avalanche. I told myself it was some mistake. Maybe a card skim, maybe a bank glitch, maybe a very generous hacker with incredible merch ambitions. Then the pump declines, the app shows the charge, and her text floats in like a helium balloon. "It's a vendor hold, babe." Vendor hold? That's not a thing you say, unless you've watched one YouTube video about dropshipping and thought, "I too am a mogul." I did not yell. I did not accuse. I took a big calming breath that tasted like regular unleaded. If she built a secret business life on our credit, I was going to audit it like a petty IRS with a Ring doorbell. We had promised transparency. Big purchases over $500? We talk. Over $5,000? We signed blood oaths in front of the dog. 50,000 was not a conversation. 50,000 was a parade with a marching band, a fireworks show, and a banner that read, "We're committing marital math crimes." So I went home, brewed anxiety coffee, and opened a folder labeled, "If I'm right, I'm sad." I started with our rules, because rules are like smoke alarms. They don't stop the fire, but they do scream early. Joint account showed a few test charges, 99 cents, $1, and 1 cent, from a platform I recognized from Shopify. Since testing. Cute. Also fraudy. Meanwhile, her calendar had a new repeating block, Strategy Sesh, which, if you've ever started a real business, you know is code for putting the word launch in a font. And every Thursday after girls' night, she'd come home at a strangely consistent 10:42 p.m., not 10:40, not 11. If you're having organic fun, it doesn't hit to the minute. Trains and lies do. I checked the merchant address on the charge, warehouse district, the same block my ex-friend, let's call him Chad, because of course, had his co-working lab for brands that say, "We disrupt cotton." We used to be partners until he accidentally forgot to pay vendors and accidentally took our list of customers. Nothing says friendship like a cease and desist in your inbox at brunch. My gut said this wasn't random. My spreadsheet said, "Bro, I'm warming up." I thought about confronting her right then. March into the living room, hold up the phone like the Statue of Liberty but angry. But confrontation without proof just turns you into the headline villain of a story you didn't write. She's charming. She can. I needed receipts, literally and figuratively, so I smiled when she got home. She kissed my cheek and said, "How was your day?" I said, "Just adulting, you know. Bills." She said, "Same. Crazy busy." I looked at her nails. Fresh. The color was launch red. I made that up, but emotionally it's correct. The plan crystallized: stabilize finances quietly, protect the business line, and map every thread she'd woven. If she built a secret, I would pull it until the sweater unraveled. Or, I guess, the t-shirt. And because I am both petty and patient, I set a silent countdown in my head. 5 days until the mortgage. 5 days until whatever this is either explains itself or meets my inner accountant with a tiny hammer. Trigger event: the decline and the lie. I replayed the decline like a war flashback, except my battlefield was pump 6 and the enemy was my bank. The clerk leaned on the window like a Greek chorus of judgment. The guy behind me revved his Honda Civic, which, frankly, was more embarrassing than my finances. I did the classic broke shuffle: slow walk inside, pretend to browse beef jerky, reinsert the card like maybe the chip needed a pep talk, declined again. The receipt printed insufficient funds in bold, as if my self-esteem needed front row seats. Back in the car, I opened the statement, and there it was. Threadforge fulfillment, 50,000 units. Units, like we were a military textile wing. I called the bank, hit 9 menus, and finally reached a human whose tone said he had clocked out emotionally years ago. He confirmed the charge, read me the merchant descriptor like he was narrating a bedtime story about financial ruin, and added, "Looks like a rush order." Cool. Nothing says not suspicious like sprinting 50,000 t-shirts through a system at 3 a.m. I texted her, "Hey, did you buy a small cotton nation?" She replied, "Marketing promo for my cousin's nonprofit." The cousin who once needed help figuring out what a PDF is. My eyebrow raised so high it needed oxygen. I said, "Which nonprofit?" She said, "The one for awareness." I said, "Of what?" She said, "Awareness." My phone developed a second eyebrow and it also raised. On the call, the bank agent said shipping showed to a warehouse district terminal, flagged as after-hours receiving. He gave me a delivery window that kissed the edge of my mortgage due date like a rom-com, but with foreclosure. "Any chance it's fraud?" I asked. He said, "If it's fraud, it's very organized." "Oh good, we got the overachiever criminal." I called her. She picked up breathy, like she'd jogged through a lie. "Babe, don't be dramatic. It's a vendor hold," she said. Translation: YouTubed merchant terms, learned one phrase, deployed it like a smoke bomb. Her pitch was half an octave higher than normal. Then came the Deflection Greatest Hits album. "Remember when you messed up the Amex 3 years ago? This is smaller." I said, "It's 50,000. She said, "Relative to potential upside." I said, "Relative to we like living indoors." I stayed calm because panic makes you sloppy, and I needed to be the emotional Navy SEAL of spreadsheets. "Okay," I said, "if it's a hold, send me the invoice number." She paused. A long pause. You could have baked a lasagna in that pause. "I'm driving," she said. It was 9:14 p.m. on a Tuesday. "Using your knees?" I asked. She huffed. "Do you always need paperwork for everything?" "Yes. When everything equals 50,000 cotton frisbees, I do." Mortgage auto pay was 5 days away, which meant my calendar had turned into a bomb timer in a movie where the bomb is also wearing a crew neck. I moved into triage mode. I asked the bank to itemize. The agent, now curious like this was his Super Bowl, read lines, descriptor code, SKU reference ranges, a customer service number that forwarded to a voicemail greeting recorded in a broom closet. Then he said something interesting. "Merchant requested manual review override." That's a phrase you don't use unless you can spell chargeback in your sleep. I ended the call and stared at the ceiling like answers were up there, hiding among the popcorn texture. Her story wobbled like a folding chair at a barbecue. A nonprofit doesn't need 50,000 anything unless they're curing boredom. And if they did, they wouldn't be routing to a warehouse near Chad's Temple of Hustle. She came home cheerful, which was impressive given that my aura was radiating forensic accounting. "Long day," she sang. I nodded. "Same." "Gas pumps are judgmental." "Oh no," she said. "Did your card do that thing?" The word "thing" did a lot of heavy lifting. "Yep," I said, "and apparently we sponsored a shirt volcano." She rolled her eyes like I was being cute, which accidentally made me dangerous. "Babe, stop spiraling. It's a hold for a promo. I'll fix it tomorrow," she said, grabbing a yogurt like she was fixing a squeaky hinge. "Great," I said. "Text me the vendor contact so I can confirm we're not on the hook." She scratched her wrist, a tell I know from every time she couldn't find her keys in her own purse. "I don't have it handy." "You'll send it?" "Tomorrow," she repeated, the international word for never. My phone pinged with a bank alert. Mortgage auto pay reminder. The clock ticked louder. Consequences were lining up like dominoes, and the first tile said, "Enjoy explaining this to your lender." I smiled, because now I had my decision. Proof before fireworks. No confrontation, no loud accusations, just quiet data and a plan sharp enough to shave with. I rinsed my cup and said, "I'm going to turn in." She said, "Don't stress." I said, "Wouldn't dream of it." Then lay awake composing a to-do list that read like a search warrant. Statements, descriptors, shipping, contacts, timelines. If she built a lie, I'd weigh it to the ounce. If she told the truth, I could cancel the countdown. Either way, by morning, the audit started and the clock kept singing. The evidence hunt. Paper trail begins. Morning broke, I broke with it, and my coffee broke labor laws. I opened the joint account, exported every statement like I was subpoenaing my own life, and dumped the CSVs into a folder named Welcome to Court. Color-coded anomalies in red because drama needs wardrobe. Instantly, a constellation of tiny weird charges lit up. Sense tests, $1 pings, and one heroic $2.17 to print cloud API that screamed, "I'm preparing to be shady." USPS informed delivery? My new love language. I pulled up screenshots like I was binging true crime. Our mailbox featured a glamorous lineup, 2 bank envelopes addressed to her, one from a payment processor I only hear about when someone's crying on Reddit, and a welcome to box 8128 from the post office across town. A P.O. box? Cute. Nothing says totally normal hobby like hiding mail in a zip code with worse parking. I clicked through our email filters and found a recovery hint tied to a burner domain, her first name plus atelier, which is French for "I'm about to Etsy your soul." The domain's admin phone number was 1 digit off our home line, subtle as a marching band. I ran a Secretary of State search for LLCs, and there it was, Cotton Metric, LLC. Manager listed as R. Sloan. We know 0 Sloans. Unless you count Ferris Bueller's girlfriend, which, unfortunately, the state of redacted does not. I cross-referenced the merchant descriptor with registered addresses. Threadforge's shipping doc matched a co-working address that belonged to Chad's Cathedral of banner ads. I could hear his laugh through the map. Nasal, gluten-free, confident in the way only a man with 3 borrowed ring lights can be. The LLC's mailing address? The P.O. box? The registered agent? An online service people use when they'd like their conscience to remain unbothered. My heart did the heavy metal double kick, but my brain put on bifocals. Time to widen the net. Password manager open, audit trail engaged. Her devices pinged in the login history. MacBook, iPhone, and something labeled Chromebooky. I do not own a Chromebook. I clicked devices on our Wi-Fi router and found a new MAC address named Press. Could be a panini maker. Was not. Held my breath, opened the admin log, and saw connection times that matched her girls' nights. I would have respected a little creativity. Call it book club. Call it kickball. Don't call it press. Cloud drive next. She left breadcrumbs like a pigeon with a bad attention span. A folder called Consulting that contained subfolders named SKU Maps, Size Runs, and my personal favorite, Friendly Refunds. I opened mock-ups, teas with cheeky slogans like debt-free energy and payday but make it passive. One design used my initials in a cute serif font. I considered suing the alphabet. Shopify test payments? Oh, she'd been busy. I found exactly $12.99 transactions, $2 1.01s, and a $3.33 chaos math running through our joint card. The payment descriptor read CMLLC Sandbox. Sandbox? Buddy, this was a sandstorm. I checked order numbers against our bank CSV. Perfect match. She was validating her checkout flow with our mortgage money. Adorable. UPS My Choice did the rest. Our address didn't show any pallets, but the P.O. box had incoming packages forwarded to a Doc 4 after-hour slot. That's like renting a P.O. box for your elephant and listing its dietary restrictions as peanuts. I screenshotted everything, labeled neatly, time-stamped, and, not to brag, hashed the files. If pettiness had a chain of custody, I was the sheriff. I paused for an emotional gut check because healthy people do that. The betrayal wasn't abstract anymore. It had tracking numbers. It had fonts. It had a loyalty program. I felt equal parts furious and impressed, like discovering your dog has been running a small Etsy clay earring shop from the pantry. But then I thought about my credit score, how I had nursed it from, "Are you a raccoon?" to, "We'll consider you for a Toyota," and the anger won best in show. I widened the search again. Subscriptions on the joint card? Hello, Klaviyo spelled wrong and billed right. Email Blaze Pro, Influence Pilot, and an ad creator trial that ended the exact day the t-shirts were ordered. Her Gmail had filters auto-archiving anything from Stripe, Shopify, and support at Cotton Metric. Slick, but filters tattletale. I disabled nothing. I copied everything. I am not a saboteur. I'm a librarian with an agenda. Last, I cold called the Secretary of State helpline like a suburban Batman. "Hi, I'm verifying a filing for Cotton Metric, LLC." The clerk read back basics, then casually mentioned the organizer had used an out-of-state mailing service, multi-state finesse, of course. "Is there a manager's contact?" I asked. "We have R. Sloan." "Great," I said. "Could you spell that?" I already had it, but sometimes you need the universe to repeat itself. I closed the laptop, took one long sip of coffee that tasted like depositions, and stared at the wall. Proof? Achieved. Motive? Money and ego, seasoned with Chad. Opportunity? Thursday nights with Doc 4. Consequence? Mortgage clock still ticking like a metronome in a haunted house. I texted myself a single line: "You are not crazy." Then I added the second line: "You are very, very funny when you are right." Smart tech and logistics, hidden in plain sight. I put on my least sexy outfit, pajama pants and administrator brain. Router time. I logged into our Wi-Fi like a dad who just discovered parental controls, and there it was. New device, Mac ending in 7A9C, nickname Press. Press what? Feelings? The connection history lined up perfectly with her Thursday girls' nights. Online at 6:38 p.m., off at 10:41 p.m., like the world's most punctual secret. I clicked details. Vendor string. Thermal print station. She'd named her crime after a button. Then I checked the cloud. I'm not saying she hid nothing. I'm saying she hid like a toddler behind a lamp. Inside consulting, a subfolder called Dropship Bible, which already made me itch. Spreadsheets titled Size Curves Reverend 7 and Skew Map Final Fairfur XLSX. Mockups with version names like Debt-Free Energy _V130 _Real Final _ for printer _thisown.ai, because nothing says pro like yelling at Adobe in the file name. Notes said, Seed 200 to Tier 2 creators, code CMLOV10. Tier 2 creators are influencers who can sell toothpaste and regret. There was a Canva board with a brand mood, beige, sage, and tax fraud. Tagline, wear your freedom. Freedom from what? Consequences? A doc labeled Refund SOP gave me hives. Step 1. Approve refunds within 2 hours to avoid chargeback ratio. Step 2. Offer friendly refund store credit. Step 3. If they escalate, block. I love a customer journey that ends with a restraining order. Shopify logs confirmed the tiny payments I'd found. She'd done the classic sandbox dance, penny nudges to test checkout, then high-five the dopamine. But buried in the payments tab was a thing of beauty. 2 test orders labeled Manual Capture Override. That's a phrase merchant processors read the way Chihuahuas hear thunder. Another toggle that made me wheeze? Pre-orders allowed. Good luck shipping on vibes while your cash lifeguard is holding their whistle. I cracked open UPS My Choice for Business, which she did not know we had because I politely steal my own mail, and saw the real circus. Pallet scheduled after hours to Dock 4. Driver instruction, text RS on arrival. Oh, Sloan, you mysterious spreadsheet. Delivery notes, keep discreet. Babe, it's a forklift, not a Post-it. Also, she'd enabled avoid weekend deliveries like t-shirts observe the Sabbath. Tracking numbers rolled in batches of 25, each tied to a PO placed at Threadforge Fulfillment. I searched the 3PL's public portal and, chef's kiss, there was an inventory view link hiding behind a QR code. She'd printed it on pallet wrap for easy scanning. I pointed my phone. Boom. Inventory. 49,867 units on hand, 133 flagged as quality variants. Translation: someone misspelled Wednesday 100 times. A Slack invite lived in her trash folder. Subject line: welcome to Cotton Ops. The workspace owner? Chad, naturally, in all caps like he'd trademarked volume. Channel names: hashtag ops doc, hashtag creator seating, hashtag payouts, and my personal favorite, hashtag win back angry. The pinned message in hashtag OpsDoc read, no signatures, driver pick only. Of course. Why sign for anything when you can reinvent liability as a mood? I skimmed messages. Launch locked for Friday, 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. Someone named R.A. Sloan posted a Gantt chart with a stripe of crimson tasks titled Escalation Protocol. The checklist: fire up backup merchant account if primary freezes, reroute DNS to secondary storefront if traffic spikes, pre-stage refunds through PayPal to reduce chargebacks. I admired the ambition the way you admire a raccoon opening your fridge. Impressive, but also, please get out. The DNS settings were a soap opera. I peeked at the domain panel and saw 3A records, 2 CN names, and a wildcard reroute labeled If Burn. If Burn? Babe, is your contingency plan named after fire? Meanwhile, emails were piping through an ESP I only hear about when Lifestyle Jesus launches a supplement. Warm up? 7,500 daily, throttled to avoid compliance review. My eyes developed a compliance review. Buried in a doc titled Vendor Cheat Sheet, I found the customer service number the bank gave me. It forwarded to a Google Voice inbox with a greeting in a carefully casual tone. "Hey, you've reached fulfillment.